Welcome to the third chapter of the book of Leviticus. Continue with the laws, the offerings basically here at the beginning of Leviticus. And it begins and it says, "And if his offering be a sacrifice of deliverance to the Lord, and if then from out of his oxen he should bring it, if indeed a male and if indeed a female, he shall bring it unblemished before the Lord." So the Lord wants the unblemished. Now, some places in these offerings, it's just the male and 1 year old and so forth. But here, if it's an offering of his gift offering of deliverance, sacrifice. Now, all these are very confusing. What is what? So I have a J. Green's interlinear. An old one, it's all come apart, but this is basically one page here, and hopefully you can see it's an interlinear like the Apostolic Bible, except it's Hebrew, and the numbering system is done by James Strong, who numbered the Hebrew Old Testament and the Greek New Testament, which I used, but seeing that I translated the Greek Old Testament, then I had to use the Greek numbering, and I interspersed a decimal system in it for the Greek words that appear in the Old Testament and not in the Greek New Testament. But now you can go and look at all these words, and you can go into Leviticus 3:1 in J. Green's, and you can find the words. The book itself is not the greatest I've ever seen. It's all coming apart, and I've noticed on Amazon, the people who get them today, they complain about the same thing, and it was probably done many, many years ago before the computer, and so it is what it is, though. But I use it; it's usable. But so now the Hebrew words are I'll go through them right here, a few of them. So a sacrifice is zevag, Z-E-H, Vag, V-A-G-H would be the English pronunciation, spelling, however you would call it. That's a sacrifice. And then there's of deliverance is a shalom. That's the deliverance offering. And then the gift offering, which is the most common because all of these are basically gift offerings, is a korban, which we see mentioned in the New Testament, where the gift offering, where it talks about Jesus complains to the people about how they offered lip service to the law, and if he gave an example that if a son or a daughter had money to help a parent that was in need, but they didn't want to, and then they would say it was a gift offering, korban, and it actually uses the word korban in transliterated Greek. And so the korban is the gift offering. So basically they're saying they're dedicating it to the God, so therefore they can't give it to the parent. So this is the korban, the gift offering. So again, we have the zevag for a sacrifice, and deliverance is shalom, and korban for the gift. And so anyway, if he brings it from the oxen, and oxen was an animal, a draft animal, it pulled carts or farming instruments and so forth, plows. And so it had to be a male or female unblemished before the Lord. And he shall place his hands upon the head of the gift offering. Now, I'm still not sure who he's talking about, if he's talking about the person that owns it, puts his hand on it, and then gives it to the priest, and they lead it in and sacrifice it, or he's talking about the priest here. I haven't figured that one out quite yet. And he shall place his hands upon the head of the gift offering, and shall slay it by the doors of the tent of the testimony. Now, the person that brought it was not be slaying it, so I'm guessing would be the priest would put his hand, and then he would take it inside of the tabernacle area. Let's see if I can, there it is. So here is that oxen is being led in through these gates, comes in and he's slayed, slaughter tables, and taken and burnt there. And they shall bring from the sacrifice of deliverance a yield offering to the Lord. Some part of the sacrifice would be considered a yield offering, and a yield offering is in Hebrew is eshah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, accenting it correctly. It's eshah or eshah, and it's the yield offering. And I got these words out of the Hebrew of the Green's Bible. I also have a Gesenius. Let me grab one and show you the. And decide to get a Gesenius, J. Green's interlinear. Then the next one would be Gesenius, Hebrew Chaldee lexicon, and that I use quite often. And so that basically tells you the root of the word and what it means, and it's all numerically coded to the Hebrew numbering, so you would be able to easily look it up. Just like in the Apostolic Bible, in the end you have the lexical concordance. And as far as a concordance, then we have Wigram's English Hebrew Chaldee concordance, and this is what I look up because it has the pronunciation in it in all the places that this Hebrew word appears in the Bible. And it'll give you all the English translations for them, which a lot of times there's 2 or 3 with one Hebrew word, just as it happens in Greek. But so that was Gesenius's Hebrew Chaldea lexicon, and I'm sure you can find it on the books on the internet. It's by Baker Bookhouse, and Wigram's was this one's a Mott Media, and then Hendrickson does the Green's interlinear. So anyway, the yield offering is the eshah, and what is it? It's the fat covering up the belly, and all the fat upon the belly, and the 2 kidneys, nephrus. We have nephrology as a studying of the kidneys, nephro, and the fat upon them, and part upon the thighs, and the lobe upon the liver, with the kidneys. He shall remove. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall offer them upon the altar, upon the whole burnt offerings, upon the woods, the ones upon the fire. It's a yield offering, again, a eshah offering, scent of pleasant aroma to the Lord. And I forgot to look this up and see if it was in the English Derivatives book. Evodius, odious, is something that smells, and ev is good in Greek. So evodius is a good smell, pleasant aroma to the Lord. And if his gift offering, that is the korban, a sacrifice, a zevag of a deliverance, the shelem, to the Lord is of the sheep, a female, he shall bring a male or female, unblemished male or a female. And if he should bring a lamb for his gift offering, his korban, he shall bring it before the Lord. And he shall place hands upon the head of his gift offering, and shall slay it by the doors of the tent of the testimony. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall pour the blood upon the altar round about. So again, that would be the same here. And takes a lamb in there, and they slaughter the lamb. He takes the blood, pours it round about. Now, a question could come up, well, what does this all have to do with us today? We're Christians, and we haven't sacrificed for 2,000 years. So why are we even reading about all of this? I found this in the New Testament. I thought this would help. It says, and this is Hebrews 9:23, it was a necessity then, for indeed the examples of the things, that is the things that we are studying now, they're examples of the things in the heaven, to be cleansed with these. That's what the cleansing purpose of all these sacrifices and everything. They are examples from the heavens. but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. So there is going to be the heavenly and the sacrifices and so forth. And it says, for not into handmade holy places the Christ entered. It wasn't a temple handmade. But it says, and they are antitypes of the true. So that's what we're looking at, is an antitype of the true, something that looks like the true. It's on earth. So we need to study these things, especially now we're getting closer and closer to, I believe, the time of the Antichrist and the beast and in all the things that would come to pass, Christians being taken up. Somehow, if that happens soon, I don't know, may not, but knowing the things in heaven. But it says, but into the heaven itself, now to be revealed to the face of God for us. The Christ entered into the holies of the heaven, nor that he should offer himself as the chief priest enters into the holy places yearly with another's blood, since it would have been necessary for him to often suffer for the founding of the world, but now once at the completion of the eon. So now this whole thing as Jesus is going in, he's done it once, he's offered himself once. So this whole rigmarole of one giant church in the world that has these priests who like offer the blood and body of blood of Christ, no, that doesn't work at all. They're not. Christ died once, and these priests are not even valid. It's not a valid priesthood as God would have it. We don't need this priesthood. All we need is Jesus Christ to go straight to him. The veil has been ripped open. We don't have to have a priest going in there. Jesus has done it. And so anyway, it continues back in Leviticus, and he shall bring the priest from the sacrifice of a deliverance, that's the shalom, a yield offering, which is the eshah, to the Lord, which is the fat and the loin, unblemished with the flank. He shall remove it, and all the fat covering up the belly, and all the fat upon the belly, and both the kidneys and the fat upon them, and the fat upon the thighs, and the lobe upon the liver, and the kidneys being removed. So all this. And the priest shall offer it upon the altar, a scent of pleasant aroma, yield offering, eshah, to the Lord. So Jesus was offered for us. This is the offering that we have, is Jesus, which is acceptable. And if his gift offering is from the goats, and first we had the oxen and then the sheep, now the goats, then he shall bring it before the Lord, and he shall place the hands upon the head of it, and they shall slay it before the Lord by the doors of the tent of the testimony, the same place we showed before. And the sons of Aaron the priests shall pour the blood upon the altar round about. And he shall offer of it a yield offering to the Lord, taking away the fat, covering up the belly, and all the fat upon the belly, and the two kidneys and all the fat upon them, and the fat upon the thighs, and the lobe upon the liver, with the kidneys, it he shall remove. So the priests, they slay all these animals and take part of it out and burn other parts. And the priest shall offer it upon the altar, a yield offering, an eshah, scent of pleasant aroma to the Lord. And it says all fat belongs to the Lord. I guess that they burn all the fat of these animals that it's mentioning. It says, an everlasting law unto your generations in every dwelling of yours. Of course, it hasn't happened for 2,000 years. They're not doing this and still don't do it today, even though the Jews are in control of Israel, basically could take the Temple Mount anytime they want. But it's being prepared for the beast. All fat and all blood you shall not eat. Now, I know that means for the sacrificial purposes, not animals. The people can eat, but not the blood, to drain the blood. and I'm pretty sure they can have the fat. Now it goes next into the sin offering for the chief priest, and that was at that last part about Jesus going in. And we'll go into this in chapter 4 and see how Hebrews chapter 10, 1 to 26, almost the whole chapter. You can read it beforehand. You'll know a lot about what it's all about. And that's, again, Hebrews chapter 10, verses 1 to 26. Hope to see you in the next video seminar in chapter 4. Until then, God bless.